Conditional if-then arguments, they have three different statements. The first two statements are called the premises, and they set conditions for the third statement, which is the conclusion. In the first statement, it is the major premise. It is a statement of the general theory. It has two parts, the if and then part. The first part is the antecedent, and it goes, if this is true, then this follows. And that thing that follows is the consequent. So it's the antecedent and the consequent. Those are both the two parts of the major premise. The minor premise asserts the antecedent in specific terms. The conclusion is the consequent expressed in specific terms. I know that that's wordy. Give me just a second here. We can go through it. So here we have the major premise is if Broca's area is damaged, then speech production will be impaired. I keep mispronouncing production, which is not helping me in this area that we're talking about here. But anyways, I don't have damage to Broca's area. I'm pretty sure I don't. If Broca's area is damaged, then speech production will be impaired. So the antecedent is if Broca's area is damaged, the consequent, then speech production will be impaired. This comes first. This is the consequence. The minor premise here for this argument, Broca's area in Bill's brain has been damaged. Okay, so the conclusion is, therefore, Bill's speech will be impaired. So this is a sound argument. It's a good conditional if-then argument. The minor premise asserts the antecedent, not the conclusion, or the consequent, and then the conclusion is the consequent expressed in these terms. So hopefully that all makes sense. Related to this, with sound arguments, the argument must follow that correct logical form to be valid, and all the premises must be true for the conclusion to be true. To create a sound argument, you must assert the antecedent in that minor premise. Here we are asserting, in this minor premise here, we are saying something about this antecedent here. And again, for the conclusion, we're saying something about the consequent. Sometimes people will reverse these and that makes the argument invalid, but you have to be really paying attention to be able to pick up on that. So it's not necessarily easy. It's something you have to actually think about to be able to set it up like that. What's the major premise? What's the minor premise? What's the conclusion? Does the minor assert the antecedent like it should? Here in a second, there'll be another example where you use the minor premise to assert the consequent, and we'll see how that doesn't work right. All right, on the next slide, we will discuss how to use some of the concepts we're talking about here, and we'll talk about social learning theory.